Welcome everyone to another edition of Late Night on Base. Truly a special episode. First time in person at this studio. I hope we're going to be doing many, many more. And we got Nick from Count on Sheep. Nick, thanks for driving down. How are you doing, man?
What's up, Bill? How are you doing? Thanks for having me. This is killer. I mean, your setup and your show, and it means a lot for you to be putting me out here on this first show like that.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to come out. I think you're just a really interesting guy. A really interesting guy. You've accomplished a lot. If you're in the entrepreneurial world and you want advice, Nick's the man. We're going to get into that. We're also going to get into, on everyone's mind, crypto and tax. I know it's kind of like the boogeyman in the room. Sure. We don't really necessarily like talking about it, but it's mandatory, especially in the States.
Right. For sure.
And so no one better than the man who's created Count on Sheep. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to get into all this and much, much more. So let's just kind of start. For those, I obviously know you. You've been on some spaces. But, for anyone, I guess, watching this for the first time, whether they're on YouTube, they're listening to it on Spotify, and they're just seeing you for the first time, they have no idea who Nick is, but more importantly, they don't know what Count on Sheep is. Why don't you just explain to us, what is Count on Sheep?
Count on Sheep. So Count on Sheep is our crypto accounting firm, and we specialize in, corporate B2B style accounting, as well as, B2C for the consumer. If you have your own portfolio and need some tax preparation, we're the ones to come to. We're the ones that only do crypto. We stay in our lane. That's all we do. We'll hand off the paperwork to your CPA, or you can file it yourself. But we specialize in crypto, specifically accounting.
So, and I think that's one of the cool things that I think about you guys is that's your specialty. Like there's like accountants dime a dozen in every city.
Right.
It's actually funny, like in where I grew up, I use one of my accounting firms, and I'm probably their only crypto client they've ever had. Like they just don't know. But you guys specialize in crypto. What has been your experience of like seeing you guys as, well, first of all, why choose just that sector and not take on maybe traditional accounting work?
Right. I think it was important to stay in our lane. One of the things is exactly what you're bringing up is like, I've had my CPA for 10 years. Why would I change? It makes sense just to keep up, you have that relationship and you want to keep it going. So, but with crypto, it's so much different. The CPAs are coming out and they're saying, oh, they don't want to lose you as a client, but they know you have crypto. So they're like, oh, we'll deal with it and we'll take care of you. But it's kind of anything but that. And I'm not putting down CPAs. CPAs are amazing, and it's good to have a good CPA. Of course. And if you don't, we have a great network of them. We have great CPAs we can recommend. But at the same time, when you're dealing with crypto, it's not the same game. We're not playing the same game anymore. It was basically playing chess versus playing checkers. And checkers is the old debits and credits that we're used to in normal business and fiat. And now when we get into crypto specifically, we're playing chess. There's a lot of different moves on the board, and it's not normal for a CPA to know all these moves. Yeah,
and it's just even more complicating with the fact that there's hardly any foresight by the U.S. government in the sense of like all we want. Like I don't know if you listened to yesterday. Trump was on a Twitter space with Farouk, and he's launching some sort of like DeFi platform,
right?
And, the topic was kind of even brought up by his sons that there's no framework, no guidance, just like in general. So I would assume from an accounting point of view, there is a huge need for someone like you, because the typical person in most firms have no clue. Isn't that correct?
It's 100% correct. And what they're saying is correct as well. One of the big things that we've done to differentiate ourselves is we've taken Big Four accounting personnel and hired them as employees for
Justin.
Like Justin. Shout out to Justin Z, who's our senior on our team and really, a big brain behind our operation. And we've been able to recruit him and go through an R&D phase with our company that took over a year to create all the processes, to really stitch together what would be the best processes, since there's not a lot of guidance out there, to what can we do to get the best result for our client, but also stay compliant and pull in what the IRS guidelines are so far, and how do we stitch those in together and make something that's, compliant, one, but then also we can really bake in a lot of tax savings as well.
When was Count on Sheep founded?
This was founded, so first it was founded by my research and development company, or my investment firm, by Bjorn. So we incubated there for nearly 18 months.
Wow.
And then we've done 2 tax seasons so far. So most entrepreneurs, I should kind of back up here, will, you kind of have to go for it, right? You're kind of standing on that cliff between usually your job and wanting to work for yourself, and that metaphorical cliff, and you want to jump off and kind of build the plane on the way down. You don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of resources, and you just kind of have to make things happen. And that's that true entrepreneurship experience. But in this one, since I've already had a company and sold a company twice, I've been able to have this luxury of having a little bit of extra money and a little bit of investment money where I can actually pave that road in front of me first and have that R&D phase and make sure that we work things out before we go live. And that's what we did with Count on Sheep.
And I think before we talk more about, and I really want to get into your entrepreneurial life, and I want to get into, what you've accomplished. And I think a lot of people can really resonate with kind of your success stories, but also I know with every success, there's a lot of failures. There's a lot of trials and tribulations that I think people want to hear. But before we talk into that, I want to see, okay, so how did Count on Sheep, talk to me about the process of creating Count on Sheep. Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, great question. One of the biggest, it came out of necessity. It was born out of necessity. Mind you, I sold my digital marketing agency in 2019 and then sold the rest of my stake in 2022. And as I was going through that process, we were getting all my financials in order. And my wealth management team said, and my tax team said, how are you looking on your crypto? Have you filed? Have you done anything? I go, well, I mostly just collect, buy and hold. But there's been a few trades here and there.
How long have you been in crypto for?
Since 2016.
Okay, so there's a lot of history.
So there's a lot of history there, right?
Yeah.
And they were basically, kind of indicating that there might be a target on my back, and we should really, reconcile those books and, figure it all out and make sure that, it's properly reported. So of course I'm like, it makes sense, let's do it. So I sent it out to 2 accounting firms, one on, the left coast, one on the right coast, had them both do my taxes in tandem.
Just normal accounting firms.
Normal accounting firms. Yeah. And these are large ones that, if you know accounting, you would know these names. Course. And they came back and both of them were blowing up my phone and saying, hey, we don't know where this is. Can you send us this wallet? Can you do this? I'm like, I sent you everything. You guys just need to go through and reconcile and, do the books. And they were getting frustrated. They couldn't figure out where things were. And they came back with completely different numbers. So, big, flag was on the play. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? One said I owed a few $1 million. One said I owned, just over $1 million. And they were conflicting, data sets. And I was like, okay, we need to get to the bottom of this. And I'm paying a lot of money, mind you. I mean, I'm paying thousands of dollars an hour to get these people to do this. And here I am doing most of the work myself. So ultimately, I realized I need to fire these guys. But then I'm like, where am I now? I've fired 2 of the biggest firms in the world. And now I have to go figure this out. So I did some Google searches. I found someone in the Midwest that was ex-Big Four. And
like a solo guy?
Like a solo gal. Yeah, that was working in her basement during COVID, more or less. And I had to show her my 7-figure portfolio and didn't really know her and had to open up the kimono.
And she was like a crypto. She was branding herself as a crypto.
She was branding herself as crypto specific. I had to do a crazy dig to find this person. She was, and finally, and after talking to a few people, she seemed the most competent. Yeah. And didn't really have a big operation. And I just gave her, my view only access. And she got me set up on a platform, started organizing my stuff. I started feeling way better about it because I had multiple exchanges, multiple wallets, right? Like most of us. And she tied it all down. And she comes back after the weekend and goes, good news, $996K tax credit.
Wow. So instead of going from $2 million you owed, you now have a 996 tax credit. That's like, what a swing.
Well, that's it was like a $3 million swing. Of course. The other way. So I was like, wow, that's the light bulb went off. And at that time, I was kind of, retired, to be honest with you. And I just had that itch. And I was like, crypto needs a hero in the accounting firm. It needs a go-to accounting firm that can do crypto specifically, that knows how to do the books for crypto, that knows how to stitch together all these decentralized exchanges that show a full accounting picture and then overlay all this tax savings knowledge that we have now.
So you saw a need from your own personal need of having this crypto specific accounting because you couldn't find it yourself and you went through so much pain. So you decided to create Count on Cheap.
That's it.
Isn't that basically the best way to start an entrepreneur? As an entrepreneur, you figure out product need because of your own need.
I would think so. You're making me think a little deeper about this now, but it was something that I needed and something that a lot of my friends in crypto needed. And there were a lot of friends I reached out to, and then we got friends of friends and things that were high net worth crypto portfolios, and they did all the R&D with us. We had an NFT project that was like an $18 million NFT project right off the bat. And that was a super interesting one. It took us 6 weeks to reconcile. And I'm telling you, this client had Bored Apes, Crypto Punks, and he was trading them like baseball cards all over the place. But he was smart. He was figuring out how to get to the top epsilon of those different portfolios, like, how to get the best, rarest Crypto Punk. Like he would trade, some Bored Apes for it, and that kind of thing. So it was really interesting. I did, but we had to establish those cost bases on all those different trades, and then look at other trades that were similar and really match those up to be able to put a really compliant argument together on how to value those.
So with someone with a big portfolio, and in 2021, for those that may not know, the NFT craze was just crazy. I mean, these are some of these things were going for like $500,000, Bored Apes.
Big time.
So if like with this, for instance, him or someone with a higher portfolio, how long does it take to reconcile their taxes with you guys if they decide, hey, Nick, I need help. Here's my portfolio. Help me. What's the turnaround time like?
It's pretty quick. That's a big outlier that we're just talking about, and that's where we have these big four guys that are figuring these processes out and really dialing them into proper accounting practices that would fit a standard for an audit. And mind you, everyone we hire from the big four are auditors. So they know what an audit looks like, and they know how to back things up and do things consistently for, in case an audit was ever brought against it. So that's kind of that. Sorry, the question.
Oh, no, I was just saying, typically, like, because this is so complex, well, for most of us, 99.9%, this is just extremely complex, reconciling trades in this. If a potential customer wanted to use you guys, what could they expect in terms of like how fast something can be done to reconcile their taxes?
Turns around pretty quick, to be honest with you. It really just depends on volume. And a lot of people are last minute. So if you're just throwing everything on us during a tax deadline, we're coming up on one right now. October 15th is our extension deadline, right? April 15th is when our taxes are due in the US. So, a lot of people are last minute. I'm last minute, unfortunately. And when you get in line like that, it gets a little bit compressed. But when you plan ahead, we get these things done very quickly. The normal account typically takes, a few days for us to turn around. If you're a little bit more, you've been in the game for a while, you have a lot of trades, a lot of volume, it could take maybe a week or so. And
it's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's not bad. And the pricing is not terrible either. And one of the cool things we're doing too is being true to our ecosystem. We're accepting payment in crypto. So I like to get my pricing in like ETH, for instance, and say, our USDC, would make it like a dollar amount because it's pegged. But I'm saying, in ETH, it's like typically, what's ETH at? $2,500 this morning, $2,400. I mean, it's probably 0.4 of an ETH, to get it done. If you're just a smaller client, and if you have a lot of trades and a lot of different things going on in your portfolio, could be 4 ETH, but those portfolios typically have quite a bit of ETH. So,
which is easy for them to justify the cost.
Yeah. Now you're not reaching out of your money that you're paying just to keep your ecosystem going in your life, and you're actually using crypto in a meaningful way. And we're glad to keep it in our ecosystem, keep it in our treasury.
Yeah. And I think that's for any business in the crypto world, I think immediately people like myself too, denomination crypto is massive. If you're going to talk the talk of like wanting to cater to the crypto world, whether it's tax, whether it's media, or a huge red flag to me is like, okay, I want to talk about it. I want to approach this community, but I won't accept crypto.
Right.
I'm just like,
how does that work?
Like you're literally a poser in my mind. And so the fact that you do accept crypto, and I actually think that's a massive benefit too for you, because it's obviously crypto, it creates an easier on-ramp for people to use your services.
Yes.
And so if you decided, you can only say Stripe, Visa, whatever the case is, you're limiting yourself. And you probably have, let me ask you this. Do you see yourself, client base, obviously certain jurisdictions around the world don't have this issue. America, obviously. And so but then there's other countries. Do you guys only focus on the US, or do you guys help other countries?
So it's a great question. We help other countries.
Really?
Where this is a global asset, and with the softwares we use, it's not so much about having the jurisdiction, because the tax softwares already have that all built in. So you'll see a lot of DIY tax softwares out there. You'll see Coinly, you'll see Coin Ledger, you'll see Coin Tracking. Sure. There's a lot of good ones out there, and there's a lot of softwares, and they program in all of the countries' tax laws, tax forms, things of that nature. So they're great to have those on board. Shout out to Coinly. We use them a lot. We've been, partnered with them. Justin just published a big thing on Celsius on their blog the other day. I
saw, actually.
Yeah. I mean, telling people how to get out of that mess. So the DIY softwares are great, but they're great. They're not quite DIY. I mean, that take a little tangent here, but they're not. They're great at organizing your data. They're getting everything on chain onto an organized tax platform specifically for crypto. But you really need. It's like flying a plane without a pilot.
Yeah.
You can get it all on there and you can have a nice jet, but if you can't have anybody fly it for you, what are you doing? So that's where we really come in, and we're really good at organizing that data. And we've coined the phrase digital asset reconciliation. And that's basically fancy talk for doing the books and really stitching together the entire portfolio, going from exchange to exchange, making sure your cost base is being passed from one to another, making sure that things are being stitched together correctly, because a lot of the default methods on these tax softwares will default to the highest tax possible. So like first in, first out method, we can talk about that stuff later. But if you're not wallet matching, doing some of these things on these platforms, you're getting sold a terrible tax. You're getting sold a terrible tax. I'm losing my train of thought on this. Might have to edit that out a little bit.
No worries.
But you're going to be paying way more than you should. Basically, is what I'm getting at. The default methods are terrible.
Yeah, it's not. It's not obviously advantageous for the average person. So that's why you need to have. You can't just necessarily go for the default.
Yeah,
because first in, first out. There's so many different variables on that.
Oh my God! I mean, we have clients that were getting Bitcoin at $300. Imagine that at the top at 73K.
Yeah.
And that delta between 3,000 and 73 is quite a bit. Whereas if you were using a last in, first out method, and you bought Bitcoin a few weeks ago at 65, and now an all-time high was 73. Let's pretend it goes back to that. It's $8,000. Yeah. Or, you're paying taxes on 8,000 versus 60 or more.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this. If you could give some advice to people, because I know you were having a quick conversation with the studio operator, and it was really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And you were kind of giving some advice about purposely selling initially, or not purposely selling, but there's ways to, for those that may not understand tax loss harvesting and knowing you can declare losses. Can you just explain, I'm a 5-year-old. In the tax world and crypto specifically, I'm underwater. What are some things I can do to help my tax, lower my tax the following year? Is there any tips you can give?
Right. I mean, now we're really preaching how to take a loss. And I think this is what the wealthy don't want you to know.
Okay.
And this is one of the things that they are doing. We can see it on chain. The blockchain is a public ledger, and the globe has access to it. And we can see through blockchain explorers that people will trade in and out of their positions with their coins. And one of those, it's tax loss harvesting. And what we do with tax loss harvesting is you're able to take losses against future gains.
Gotcha.
So you're allowed to take a step back, and we're in this mindset of a hodl, right?
Yeah.
And be true to your community, hold your coins, hold the line. That's well and good for some of these projects that you're supporting. I mean, that's fine.
Sure.
But how many people have been rug pulled and things like that? You got to give up at some point. That's not coming back.
Yeah.
And it's good to declare those losses and take that loss. And by doing so, you can put that against your future gains. But if you're just holding on to everything and you have a bunch of things that are not doing anything for you in your portfolio, and then you're waiting for your coins to rise, you are just going to be paying a ton of taxes on those, versus being able to take those losses, and then you'll have a buffer between the taxes you'll have to pay.
So could you in theory sell, say I'm underwater a few grand on a coin,
right?
I decide, okay, this year it's a short-term capital gains, right? It's less than a year I've been in this position. I sell, and I'm down 5,000. Now, could I theoretically rebuy the next day?
Well, now we're talking the wash sale rule.
Oh, that's wash sale. Okay.
And the wash sale rule, but the funny thing is the wash sale rule as of now, as of today, what's today? September 18th.
Yeah.
So, it does not apply because it is not a security.
Or 17, sorry.
So, securities have the wash sale rule built in the USA.
Securities have the wash sale.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are currently not a security with any of cryptocurrencies. So that's, it's actually classified as property.
Interesting.
So that wash sale rule does not apply. But you got to be careful with that. The IRS sees it too as like if you're trying to game the system and things like that, it could overturn that and say, hey, listen,
IRS, if you're watching this, we're not trying to game the system. Just trying to learn. Trying to learn. I'm a noob. Trying to learn my taxes. I'm just learning.
But that's not to say that people don't do that.
Yeah.
We see people do it all the time on chain. We can see it through those block explorers. We can see people trade out of something and then clearly change their mind and buy back their entire bag. And, who's to say what they're doing, if they're reporting that or not. But right now, there's not a wash sale rule in place for crypto. Yeah.
That's super interesting to me because, like I said, I think just having this kind of knowledge makes someone smarter, whether or not they use your services or something. Just being empowered to know, hey, this is what you can do. And I think, and here are some tips, go a long way, because the way I look at it is you're giving this kind of advice. And I think anyone listening to this can learn from you. And then by knowing what's capable, then they would want to use you as an expert authority. Hey, you gave me some free advice. This is great. Still a little complicating for me.
Right.
Please help me. And I think, and then there's other people who are just going to be like, hey, thanks for the advice. I'm never going to use you again. That's
Absolutely.
fine. But I think in your specific industry, I don't know of any, and I think it goes a long way for you taking the time to do this podcast. I don't really know anyone trying to help like you. And like, I just learned something right now. Cool. So thank you.
I love it. Yeah, no, we want to spread that knowledge. And it's not fair. Once again, I said, like, this is like what the wealthy don't want you to know.
Yeah.
And, I've been fortunate enough to have access to, high level individuals, but I've spent, 6 figures on these individuals in a year. Yeah. So I'm getting the top tier advice. And these are the things that you're getting told at these levels. And, whereas just a normal CPA would not bring this to your attention, would not say that to you, will only file the 1099s that come from your exchange that are inaccurate. Yeah. And just, and if you have multiple exchanges and multiple 1099s, that's when things get really sticky because they only see you as selling it. Like if you're swapping between a wallet on, let's call it Kraken and Coinbase. Yeah. And it basically shows you that like Kraken will see it as you sold it, which is a taxable event, versus you transferred it to another wallet because because Coinbase and Kraken, are not speaking with each other.
Interesting.
So you have to go in there and you need a service. I'm not trying to plug ourselves, but someone needs to go in there, or you have to go into one of those softwares and know how to do it and wallet match all your wallets because those are non-taxable events. But if you're not matching those, and that's just a base layer of what we do, but that's where we see people paying double, triple, quadruple the amount of taxes.
Yeah, and I'm sure, first of all, no one wants to pay that kind of guy. You want to pay the least amount possible.
100%.
Because it's your hard-earned money.
100%. And you're going to be bummed when you feel like, oh, I 3x'd, 4x, 5x my investment, 10x'd it, got 50 back.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're owing just a ton of tax because you're getting hit in all these different ways that you shouldn't be. So
I mean, if you're in the US, you have to know this. I mean, I have friends all over the world. Everywhere is different, but you're in the US, this is just the way it is. And so I think it pays to have this knowledge. And let me ask you this one last question, because I really want to get into your story, because it's extremely interesting. But with Count on Sheep, if you guys you have headquarters in San Diego, right? But you do work anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
What do they have to do if they are interested in knowing more?
And anywhere in the world, let me back that out, actually. Like anywhere in the world is, it's European Union, it's UK. We do taxes for people in Canada, Mexico, Australia. That's kind of our main targets.
And they just have to go on. And anyone listening, I will have a link for you guys that you can go to utilize their services. But basically, they just need to log in, contact you. Do you guys do consultations at all?
We do. So with, anybody listening to your podcast specifically, Bill, is going to you can have a 20-minute conversation with Justin, our senior CPA, for free. And you guys, and you can personally talk with him and give him, the information about, the questions you have about your portfolio specifically, and he'll give you answers for free. And like I said, if you don't want to use the service, please, you don't, we could save you a lot of money, but if you want to try and do it yourself, or you have some other plans, by all means. But if you have specific questions about your crypto portfolio, you have 20 minutes for free with Justin, and he'll just jump right to it with you.
I think everyone should at least take the opportunity to talk to you about that, and and Justin's phenomenally smart.
Justin's so smart. I mean, he is kind of the crown jewel of our establishment.
Yeah.
I have a co-founder, Grayson, as well. So shout out to Grayson Waller, who's helped me on this path. And he's, kind of behind the scenes, but operates for us in a big way and gets our name out there and does everything and ties everything down. So I want to shout out to Grayson, but Justin really is our founding employee and, ex Ernst & Young, and just so savvy when it comes to this. I really would put him up against anyone right now.
Yeah. I mean, for my interactions with him, I'd be hard pressed to find somebody as knowledgeable about this industry like him.
He's passionate.
He is passionate. And whether it's DeFi and yield farming, I mean, this guy knows it. He speaks the language.
Yeah, it's wild. It's really good.
Nick, I want to go deep into you. I think in every podcast that I do, it's very important for me to get to know the people and the person behind it, whether it's a meme project, whether it's a DeFi protocol, whether it's an influencer, because to me, there's authenticity matters. You can build an amazing product, but who's the person behind it? And you have such an incredible story. And I think you have a lot of wisdom that you can share. So tell me about you. You follow the path of entrepreneurship. When did you realize, at a young age, or when did you realize the traditional corporate life wasn't for you, but entrepreneurial work was your path?
I've been asked this before, and I think it hit me early. I came from
How early?
Very little, probably early teens, 12, 13, 14 is when I started realizing, I kind of had a obsession with going into my parents' car and under the couch and just grabbing coins, and collecting coins. And I felt like there was maybe a level of scarcity in my life. I didn't grow up with, wealthy or anything else. I grew up in a 2-bedroom, apartment with a single mother.
In the States?
And yeah, in the States with my sister. So it made me, think more. And I saw a lot of people that had more. And in our family, there's other people in our family that were wealthy and things like this, but we had very little. So I had exposure to some of this, and I was kind of why is there such a deficit here? So I think that drove me. And then I was like, well, how do I get there? And entrepreneurship kind of became the avenue when I was 16, and my dad threw the Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, he threw it on my bed, and I was one of the first books. This is sad to say that I probably read cover to cover, because I was always trying to get the cliff notes, and find the way around it. But that one I just kept reading and reading. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Now I'm starting to get somewhere. Yeah, and then I went to Think and Grow Rich. Was one of my favorites.
Oh,
that's just
Napoleon Hill.
Oh yeah, that's the guiding star, I think, for entrepreneurship.
Amazing
to this
book.
day, and it still just means so much. And every time I read it, it means something different to me.
Written in the 30s or something.
Yeah, it's insane. And I've gone back and read it several times through my journey, and it means something different to me every time, which is so wild. So, that's really got me on my path. And then I'd start little hustles, around the block. I would take out people's trash. I started a Christmas lighting business that put me through college.
Wow.
And then it got me I wasn't a big college person. I wasn't a big academic. I was a comm major, of all things, at SDSU. And so my last year, though, I got a scholarship because I was hanging Christmas lights in the wealthy parts of town, La Jolla, Rancho Santa Fe, and San Diego. And I would get enough money. I'd get cleared $60,000, $70,000, and I would pay in a month and a half, and then I'd pay for my school and everything. So I did that.
I mean, that's incredible. Who would have thought hanging Christmas lights is profitable?
Yeah, right? I mean, rich people will pay for that kind of service.
For sure.
I'll pay for it nowadays. So, it's good. And that worked out for me. And I got an entrepreneurship scholarship last year, my senior year. And it really opened me up to a lot of these, older guys that were doing big things, that were entrepreneurs. And I got a great network. Got out of school, started working for, it was 2008, so it was right in the crash. Like no one wanted to talk to you, especially as a grad. And I was like, why did I go to school? And I was having all these bad thoughts. And sure enough, I was doing sales at first, and it was a tough sales job. I was selling like, internet lines, door to door or something like that. And I found a guy through a mutual friend one weekend, and we were at some party, and he was saying that he does local search for like SEO and ranks businesses.
Okay.
And I go, I want to do this. I'm like, we're in a recession. I want to show people how to make some money versus tell them how to save money on their internet.
For sure.
So got with him, and that's when my journey took off in digital marketing. And I worked for him for a while, and then went and worked for another company that was doing international stuff with search engine optimization, and then came back and worked for another company that was doing just all the big brands you would know. And that was my 20s. And I knew right then I became pretty good at SEO, search engine optimization on Google.
And you use that skill to help businesses make money.
Make money. Yeah. It's like, we can rank you. Let's make money. And then we were starting to get attribution on like, okay, if you're ranking this, you're getting this amount of click-through rate, you're selling this amount of product on your conversion rate. And we could actually back out the numbers on how much they were making. So now all of a sudden this made sense for a lot of the CEOs. And I hit some glass ceilings along the way in my career. And that's when that entrepreneur thing kicked back on. I'm like, I was talking to my CEO one day, and I was like, man, you hired me at like 18. We've grown to like 108 people in like a year. It's been insane, like growth spurt. And, I felt like I was helping that, lay the bricks for that. And he wasn't giving me the credit, was always hiring over me. And he goes, hey, Nick, if you're so smart, go do it yourself.
You took
it.
He goes,
get out. He goes, get out of my office. And I left that company on a Friday and started Power Digital on a Monday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Probably had that fuel to like prove him wrong.
Yeah. It was wild, and best of luck to him. But I mean, at the same time, I looked back in about 3 years, and we had a bunch of his team was working for me.
Aren't you glad though that happened though? That he told you that?
Oh yeah.
Who would have known if you would have stayed there? It was a blessing.
I know. It was the biggest blessing in disguise. I mean, I owe that guy a lot for doing that to me. It seemed like devastating at the time. And then now it's like it turned my whole life in another direction.
I tell people all the time too. It's like, I look at setbacks. Some people might think it's like failure or like a setback. It's devastating, but I have the opposite approach. I look at it as a blessing.
Totally.
Because you learn from that experience, and it opens up new doors for your life. And like, I remember for myself a couple of years ago, before I had my twin boys, I was working in the crypto world, and like the bear market hit, and like literally everything went to shit. Yeah. Everything. And I remember like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What's my passion? Like, I have kids now. I can't just like sit and do nothing. So it was hard at the time. And then I just didn't really know. And then I just, picked myself up. And now looking back on it, now I'm on a journey of being a host, podcast, entertainment media, and I love it. And I'm so fortunate that I had that failure, and I'm not in the crypto world running a project, because I wouldn't be here doing 100%.
This. So you got to experience the failure.
You do.
The failure is part of the game, like, and it's so important, and it really shapes everything going forward. And you really have to understand how shitty it can be to really appreciate the good stuff. And,
I think so. I mean, I think I'm of the belief too. It's like, failure is your greatest teacher, and you always learn it. And I just know for myself, the stuff that I did back then, I won't ever make the same mistakes because I've learned it. But like, I needed that experience. I needed to put myself out there. And I think entrepreneurs need to understand that, like, embrace challenge. It's not going to be like, in your case, it wasn't just all roses.
No, I ran into a lot of cul-de-sacs and had to back my way back out.
But you figured it out.
You figure it out through those mistakes. 100%. It's the best teacher. Like you said, it really is the best teacher is failure. And that's tough for a lot of people to hear. And in school, you're taught to be perfect, right? You're taught to get straight A's. You're taught to do that. And I think since I didn't have that experience, I dealt with failure my whole life. So I can accept things and move on and then try and get it right the next time.
And I think as an entrepreneur, it's kind of like everything that you accomplish, it could be super small, but like day by day, as long as you're getting better, it could be like 0.01%, but like you learn something new. Right. Or you talk to somebody that you never talked before in your life, and you're building your network. Those small things add up. Yeah. And then you look at it like 2 years down the line, you're like, oh my God, like, I accomplished so much. And like, now you're way ahead of your competition because you took a leap of faith. Would you agree?
I agree. And I think it's, it's Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point, where you're just kind of like slowly tipping the scale in your favor every single day, but it's consistency. It's waking up and doing the same thing every day until it gets done, and you have to keep leaning into it. You can't just like let off the gas, go hang out, do what you gotta do. It's a consistent push, to get there.
And I mean, kudos to you. You figured it out at a young age. Like you had that drive and passion to change your life. And now you have that life that you want. And I think, not everyone has that drive, but they can still get that drive no matter what part of their life they're in. They just need to change their mindset.
Yeah.
And it's never too late.
It's never too late. And I think one of the things too is it's sacrifice. I mean, my 20s weren't that great. I mean, like I don't have like great experience. I can tell you, if you said, go back and tell me about your 20s, I'd be like, I was just kind of working, grinding, stressed out.
Yeah.
But that's when your body can take it. That's when your mind can take it. It's better to do this stuff when you're young. And my mindset was always throw the ball forward.
Sure.
And I wanted to play the back nine, if you will, versus and sacrifice some of that. While all my friends were going out and they're all, going on great trips and had great Instagrams and this kind of stuff. And I was, just going to work and going home. And that was most of my 20s. But now my life is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
The friend group I hang out with is spectacular. My wife is spectacular. My kids are spectacular. I mean, and that wasn't easy either. I mean, I've burned everything to the ground. I've lost everything before and come back. And, even in my, I had a first marriage and that didn't survive all of the stress of building a big company and things of that nature. And that fell apart during COVID. And then, like, you feel devastated. You're like, where am I now? And I just went back to it. I said, okay, I got to lean forward and for my daughter and make things happen. And within 18 months, Love My Life shows up.
For sure.
And she, had a very similar experience to me. And I can't shout out to Tara. And, we got married and, now we have this beautiful life. We live in La Jolla. We travel all over the place. Our kids go to good schools, like it's wild how life turns out, when you don't feel bad for yourself, you don't feel sorry for yourself and you just keep going.
Yeah. I mean, that's deep. And I think you did so well, like knowing that like short-term sacrifices, especially if you're an entrepreneur, like you're going to have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone would do it.
There it is. That's it.
Right. And so you should be like happy it's not easy because then it would take away the joy. So if you're younger, like I like to mentor people too. I love, I'm going to be 40 in a couple of days and I've been around the block. I've experienced so much in my life and so many different aspects. And I always love to talk to the younger generation. Yeah. And one of the best advice I would give them is don't worry about what your peers are doing.
Yeah.
Don't. Like, especially if you have a focus and a goal. Like I have friends who are like in their late 20s and they're hustling, they're grinding, but I love that about them because I know 10 years down the line with that mindset and that work ethic, they're going to have the life that they want. Maybe not now, maybe their friends are doing whatever, but like in your case too, you have the life that you want. Short-term sacrifices lead to the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it takes some people to like kind of be told that because it's easy to be like, oh, my friend's on Instagram and they're partying on this. And it's just like, block the noise.
Block the noise. And when everyone's looking left, you need to be looking right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When everyone's going this way, I would question it. And I would start saying, oh, we got to look this other way because that's where the opportunity is.
Absolutely.
When everybody's going towards something, you're not going to get in there and find that opportunity. You got to be looking where people aren't. And then I'd also say when you're looking to do something, everybody nowadays wants to do something sexy. Yeah. And I have a lot of friends that do cool shit. Everything from, actors to my best friend is a manager for two of the top DJs in the world, as we were talking about. And they have cool jobs, and I don't look for cool jobs.
Yeah.
I do dork jobs. But when I go to sell a company, it's in the tech space and I'm getting multiples on these companies and I'm really building something and I find the competition fun, and I find the numbers fun. I find, you're like, oh, an accountant, how boring can that be? But I love winning. I love winning for the clients. I love putting those metrics. I love growing the team. I love hiring new people and giving them the salary and the life that they want. So I take, that's how I measure things up versus like, oh, I'm not doing a fashion brand or a cool, drink, like, it's like enough. I blow all the smoke out. Like everybody just wants to think that they want to be an entrepreneur and just do something that has to be fun. No, do something that's providing a lot of value and find the bottlenecks in industries. I felt like the accounting was the biggest bottleneck for me in the crypto sphere.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, okay, well, I can be a miner. I can do NFTs. I can, you know, build a fund. I could, you know, there's so many things you could do, but I'm like, where does it all merge? Where's it bottleneck?
Yeah.
It bottlenecks at the taxes. I mean, everyone's going to have to pass by the tax man eventually in this, you know, in this world for it to be legitimized. So I was like, all right, why don't we start helping there?
Yeah, that kind of leads me to my actually segue to my next question would be like, you've had all this success. Why not just retire on a beach with your family? Why even deal with this? Pass this idea to someone else. Go sip some pina coladas.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did for a minute. I was retired for a minute. Like during COVID, I just threw in the towel on pretty much everything. Yeah, I wasn't working for my marketing company. You know, my co-founder was running that operation really well, and I just had time to kind of rebuild and rethink. And I tried to retire, and I had a great time. You know, my wife now, Tara, we traveled the world. We went to the coolest places possible. We met the coolest friends. We had the best wedding. Man, it was like really special.
Sure.
But yeah, you know, what brought me back? I mean, there's a calling. I think when you learn how to do it, and I thought I would be the guy that can step out and just be like, I did that. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
On my digital marketing side, and I'm done. But it's kind of like once you know the formula, you want to kind of keep repeating it. It's hard to just walk off into the ether and not come back. You know, you know how to build companies, you know how to structure teams, you know how to raise funds, you know how to provide value, you know how to scale. And for me to like just walk away from that, I think is tough. I think I have one, you know, Count on Sheep is one more I have in me. Mind you, that came out of necessity. We called it Count on Sheep because I was losing sleep. That was the only thing in my life because I was retired. That was the only thing I was losing sleep in my life was my crypto taxes. Yeah. And that was a big enough itch for me to get back in the game and try it again.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, I mean, I think I'd be the same way. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like they might think, oh, the retired life. For me, I think I'd just be bored.
Yeah.
I think I would just like, it's nice to have the money and the financial security, but like, I think I would just want to like give and do something. Like, I just know for a time period, like, you know, I love my kids. I love that life too, but like, I need a purpose. And I don't think that stops just about how much money is in your bank account.
Oh, you said it. Purpose like is a big driver. And purpose can be your family, no doubt. And purpose can be having fun with your significant other and your kids. But I think also as a man and being a provider, even though I was able to provide at a large level for my family, we're pretty good. You know, there's still other dreams we want to build, and we want to keep building. Yeah. And you know, building money and wealth is also, you know, you're printing fun tickets.
For sure.
You have more access to doing things and creating these experiences. And I think also with your kids, it drives you hard, right? You know, you want them to have the best and you want them to be able to experience things that you didn't get to experience. But then you as a father, I'll ask you this, how do you, you know, I always, you know, how do you give the right amount to your kids without making them spoiled? You know, because you have to have some of that drive, right? Yeah,
you know what? I mean, it's funny that you say that because my parents are still alive to the 80s. I'm blessed.
Wow.
And you know, they're successful in the real estate world, and they gave me the life I always wanted. And looking back, I'm blessed on that. But it kind of prevented me from having that fuel and that drive that I think had they kind of taken it back, then I'd naturally want, you know? So you bring that up and it's like, there has to be a balance, because if you give them too much, and everyone wants their kids to have better lives than them, everybody.
Right.
But if you just do too much, then it'll take away that burning desire. Like I'm sure in your case, if you know you had everything you wanted, I don't think you'd be here right now, because you would have a different life. You'd be more comfortable. So it is a good question. You have to give them a little, because you know they're your family, your children, you're the most precious things ever. But in my opinion, it just can't be too much. You still want them to drive, to burn, have that desire to fulfill their dreams, not have like, you know, don't live complacent.
I think that's right. And I think it's like that metaphorical safety net, or, you know, of walking that tightrope and having that net under you. And I look even at companies I invest in, when I've noticed a lot of them fail, and I go back and I'm always trying to, you know, not a lot of them fail, but I mean, you know, the ones that have failed, I go back and obviously I say, where did I miss this? Sure. Where did I miss this investment? You know, did I not read that CEO right? Did I not do this? And a lot of them, I'm starting to realize the common denominator is a lot of them had like a safety net. Like they had something else going on. And it really wasn't, they weren't all in. They weren't, had distractions. They had this, they had that. And, but one is that safety net, the ones that really do, have plenty of money. Sometimes they just don't give them their all. They're not leaned in. They're not, you have to figure out ways to starve yourself in order to sometimes punch through.
Absolutely. And like for me, I just know like, this is my calling. It took me a while to figure out my calling. Like I've done well in my life, but like haven't found that purpose until honestly this podcast. Yeah. And so I feel I'm meant to be in this position to talk to amazing people like yourself, to educate, to inspire, have people tell their stories. And just, if only one person listened to this podcast, but they took something from your talk and now they feel more comfortable using your services for taxes. That to me is a win.
Absolutely. And what I love about what you're doing is you got on the ground floor with this base community. This base community has been so good to me. And I've only been in it not even close to as long as you have. And you've been on the ground floor of this thing. And I just feel, just very honored to be part of it. And everybody's so accepting. Everybody wants to trade their ideas. And I think that you slotted a perfect position, with this and the fact that it's Coinbase backed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this could really be a rocket ship.
I think you're right. And I put my eggs on, and of course I will talk to anybody on different chains because it's not just Base, but Base is my home ground.
Right.
And I feel no better communities out there than on Base. And I think with the backing of Coinbase, the number one exchange in probably the world and definitely the US.
Most regulated in a good way.
In a good way.
You're talking to, but yeah.
I think it's a good horse to back.
It is. And yeah, when you're on Coinbase, your coins are safe and that kind of thing.
So Nick, before we end it, any last words you have for the audience about you, Count on Sheep, anything you'd like to talk to them about?
Yeah. I mean, the last thing is one big thank you to you for having me out. I mean, this is an awesome experience and, love what you do. For Count on Sheep, just a big shout out to our team. Really want to highlight Justin as well and really want to offer you guys, seriously, call him. There's going to be a link here. Call him. We're not going to hard sell anyone. I mean, if you don't want to do it or you want to do it yourself, by all means, but if we can go through and shed some light on some things for free for you, we're glad to do so. And that's only because of the relationship we have here with Bill. And so I want to point that out. And I think that's it. Our website's Count on Sheep. You can follow us on X. And I'll get on our Discord channel, and we're always posting, keeping things current in the tax realm, letting people know things are ever evolving in our space. And we're just here to help. And I also want to shout out to the B2B community, any Web3 developers, things of that, nature, listening, those industries. We do a lot of that as well. So, I mean, as we help you with your own portfolio, we also help companies with their accounting. And I would say the last thing is, I don't think there's too many better models for crypto right now than the accounting piece. Yeah. And we figured out some really cool things to do with wallet hygiene and automating that process and stuff for the business owners to really make the accounting super streamlined, super accurate, and it cuts down a lot of our hours. So you don't have to pay that much. So I shout out to those people if they want that service. We'll help you out.
Amazing. And I also just want to say a quick shout out to Rob, who introduced us.
Yeah, Rob's amazing.
Amazing. I need to get Rob. Rob, if you're listening to this, come to LA.
Listening.
Well, you need to come to LA and we'll do a podcast with Rob. Yeah. Shout out to him. And great time with On-Chain Summit and everything in San Francisco. It was a blessing to come out there and just meet, people like himself and what they're doing. I mean, he doesn't have to do what he does, and he's just out there on the grind.
And none of this would be possible without Rob. Absolutely. I mean, he threw us together. He did that incredible On-Chain Summit, and I mean, he really is the person backing this community in a big way. So shout out to you, Rob.
Awesome, Nick.
Awesome. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And guys, this has been, hopefully you guys have took something away from this. If, you want to know more, we'll have a link obviously for Count on Sheep, not only their X account, their website, but we'll drop a link for you to schedule your free consultation. And if you like what they have to say and you want to use them, great. If not, hopefully you learn something. Take care, guys.